Welcome to the Seasons podcast, where we explore the intersection of creativity, growth, and balance through life's ever-changing seasons. I'm your host, Autumn Hashi, interior designer turned mindset coach and creative mentor. Here, we speak with inspiring leaders, spirited entrepreneurs, and everyday visionaries about wellness, mindset, creativity, and intentional living, offering insights and tools to help you step boldly into your next season of self. Today's episode is brought to you by Inner Muse. If you're looking for the perfect gift, I cannot say enough good things about color analysis. Ryan got me an in-person color analysis session with Samantha for my birthday, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it changed my life. Samantha's available to do color analysis sessions in person in the GTA, but she can also do them virtually worldwide. Use the code AUTUMN10 to save 10%. You are not going to regret it. Welcome back to Seasons. Today I'm thrilled to chat with Samantha Dempster from Inner Muse, a stylist and color analysis expert who helps women feel empowered in their personal style so that they can become their own muse. As we wrap up the year, it is the perfect time to reflect on your wardrobe and rediscover your personal style. If your closet feels overwhelming or you're stuck in a rut, Samantha shares actionable tips, including her genius price per wear strategy that I wish I knew sooner, to help you embrace color and step boldly into 2025. Welcome to the show, Samantha. Samantha,
hello.
Welcome to the Seasons podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. This isn't your first time at my place.
No, it feels like a very full circle moment right now.
It does.
Yeah.
Samantha actually did my color analysis. How long ago was that?
I don't even know. Was it like 6 months?
It would have been. So I guess it was for my birthday. Ryan got it for me as a birthday gift because he's the best BF ever. And it changed my life. Love color analysis. We're going to talk about it more as we get into the show. But I wanted to start by kind of getting a little bit of a background on you. Tell me about Inner Muse. Tell me about the journey to Inner Muse, because I think we're very similar in that we have we've lived 1,000 lives.
Yeah. It's been a real journey to get here, and don't know how much time you've got.
An hour.
It's gonna go. Yeah. Well, to be honest, like fashion has been a constant through my whole life. It's been something that I have always been interested. Color analysis specifically, I picked up my first color analysis book in, I want to say like the 90s. I was
ahead of the curve.
Yeah. My mom at the time was the trainer for Lancome, and she had that Color Me Beautiful 80s book, and I found it and like totally was obsessed with it. So I'd bring it to school every day, and so like doing color now is very full circle. But yeah, my whole career has been a whole journey to getting here. I've always worked either in the fashion industry or in the cosmetic industry. I've always had a real passion for being an entrepreneur. Ever since I was a kid, I knew I wanted to have my own business. And I went to school for fashion arts, studied at, where did I go? Humber. Went to Humber College. I feel like I'm one of the few that went on to like still continue and pursue fashion from that program. And I started out in the cosmetic industry where I worked for like probably 10 years.
Wow.
And and then I went on to do fashion marketing. So
okay. Marketing background is great to have.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. I studied like fashion business side as opposed to pursuing fashion design. I loved fashion marketing, but I eventually knew I wanted to have my own business. And then my family were entrepreneurs. They had a retail store. And so eventually they asked me to go run their retail store, but it was not in fashion. It was like a party store. And
like party, like decor?
Okay. Party decor. So it was not really my passion, but at the same time, it felt like this really good opportunity to have my own business. So I went and did that for a little while. I left fashion. That was really my only time ever not working in the industry. And I did that for a few years and realized that I really did not like it. Wasn't feeling aligned. And I feel like I went through this whole period in my life where I started like pursuing things that felt like they were the right thing to do when I was also like not listening to my intuition and my gut. And I was kind of just like making decisions that were really leading me off course. So eventually, when I got the courage to kind of tell my family that this wasn't something I was going to want to pursue, I got back into the fashion side of things. I also had my daughter. So I have 2 kids. And so for a while, it was the balance of I basically unemployed myself by leaving my parents' business, but then trying to pursue my own thing in the fashion industry and raise 2 little people at the same time, which was challenging.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much bravery in what you did. And like making that transition must have been really challenging because you're in this place that's very safe and secure, and you decided to move into something that is more passion driven with no guarantees. So like, how was it like making that decision, and what was kind of like the final straw that made you decide to move into your passion, which is fashion? Passion for fashion.
I have a passion for fashion.
So you decided to leave the safe, secure job that was kind of given to you by your family to pursue fashion. What was that decision like? And
it was really challenging only because I felt like I was kind of potentially letting them down. It was a business that they no longer could run themselves because they were getting older. And so there was so much stress on me for that reason. I'm an only child. So it just felt like there was a lot on my shoulders, but I literally could not deny the fact that just I felt so out of alignment. Everything felt off about it from really the beginning. And it took me a few years to just gather that courage. So it felt really good, but at the same time, it was tough because you have to really be brave and you have to put yourself out there and figure out what it is that I wanted to do. Because while I knew that I loved fashion and beauty, I knew the things that I was passionate about, but I didn't really know how to turn that into something. Yeah,
I think that whole like explorative journey is so important, and like giving yourself the time and the space to explore, because 100%. If you're spending all this time in this business that you're not ultimately happy in, you don't actually have time to explore anything else. And so it's like you have to be comfortable taking that dip in income and understanding in order to gain the clarity that you need to find the path. So what was it like when you made that transition? Like, what were the first things that you kind of dabbled in, and how did you start to find your way?
Well, funny enough, we were talking before the episode, I somehow got involved in some coaching, like some fitness coaching for a little bit, which was completely unrelated. But I think that somehow, like now looking back, linked back a lot to me just having a real passion for helping people feel more confident about themselves and really like coaching and working one-on-one with people. So now it's like in hindsight, it makes so much sense that I did this really weird random job for a little bit. But I ended up starting a retail store. I used to always I'd walk down Queen Street West. I lived King Street, and I'd walk down Queen and I'd see this little retail accessories boutique, and I was just obsessed. And I was like, I want to have this. I love jewelry. I love accessories. But having a retail store at that time was feeling like, a really big investment, really big risk. So I ended up creating an online store called Inner Muse, where I was selling a lot of different Canadian brand jewelry and accessories. So I kind of curated these beautiful mix of things, but I wasn't creating them myself, and I was selling them online, and it did pretty well. I would do events where I was doing pop-ups and so on. And yeah, somehow I found myself a pretty good following, and everyone loved what I was sharing. But during COVID, all of a sudden, those pop-ups weren't happening. So my business was going completely online. And also people were feeling, I think, a little bit less of a need to really bedazzle themselves at that time. Everyone's sitting at home in their sweats, stressing about life. So the jewelry suddenly kind of took a little bit of a dip. And what I found was that I loved the in-person portion of my business, but me just sitting behind a screen, things weren't feeling quite right. But I also knew at the same time that there was something good there. And I knew even with the name Inner Muse itself, I was I feel like I need to hold on to this, but I feel like there's a pivot. So I basically felt like I gave myself, I want to say like a year. I don't know that it was a year, but I was like, I need to get really quiet. And I'm like, I need to meditate.
Yes.
I need to just really, I had 2 young kids at the time. And I'm like, I need spaciousness and quietness to figure out what my next step is. And so while I continued running Inner Muse, the jewelry store, I was kind of planning like, where is this going to go? And I was meditating and like personal styling came in my head. And of course, like this wasn't the first time that I'd thought of it. And I'd had other people even telling me like, this is something you should do. I think I was really scared to do that step. But anyhow, so I started kind of figuring out what that would look like. And in the meantime, I moved. We lived in the Annex at the time, and we moved to the East End in the beaches. And there was this group, it was like a buy and sell group that was really local, community based. And so I started kind of like posting things. I like to just kind of, I think I like selling things. Strangely enough, I'm like sometimes, I'm like sometimes I just want to like sell a shirt. And so I would put it on and I would style it because I felt like if you just post a picture of a shirt, it's just a shirt. But when you show how you can style it, people have like a vision. You create the vision for them. So I started posting in this group all the time and it became kind of like a fun little hobby. But in the group, people would be like, are you a stylist? Like, I'd love to work with you. And I was like, really? Well, like, soon this will be in the works. And I went back to school and I actually brushed up on some courses specifically in personal styling. And that's when I also decided to take the course in color analysis because I was like, I think that this will be a really good tool to like help me, just like point people in the right direction. Because at that time, those capsule wardrobes with the black, white, gray were really, really popular. And everyone was wanting like these cookie cutter wardrobes. But I was like, I feel like we need to be a little bit more unique than that. I think we need to not just look like everybody else.
I couldn't agree more. I honestly think that it should be a prerequisite for every stylist to have color analysis.
Yeah.
Because when you're working with a stylist and you're filling your closet with all of these new clothes, and they aren't like reflective of something that, I don't know, like matches your tones. Like it doesn't accentuate who you are. I think that's the best part about color analysis is that it's really so personal. And like doing these TikTok capsule wardrobes is very copy paste. It has nothing really to do with who you are as a person.
Totally.
And color analysis is literally about finding the most authentic version of you expressed visually. And I love that. And I think that like anyone who's doing personal styling should have that in their toolbox. And it's not to say that like when you're doing color analysis, you're telling people that they can only wear these colors.
Right.
It's a tool. It's like you can use these colors. You're not like abided by you have to wear these colors for the rest of your life, but it's another option. And it's just something that you can tap into that is so uniquely you. And like color analysis for me, I feel like it's just like given me so much more like of a playground in terms of styling because I feel like sometimes there's almost too many options.
Totally.
And like defining my own personal style, I was like, I don't know, there's so many options. But just by putting a filter on it, a color filter on it, all of a sudden you have less options. And now you're deciding what fit do I like? What shape do I like?
Exactly.
And it's just so liberating having that tool to fall back on.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And here I am like staring at you looking just totally lit up in your color. So yeah, I know. I agree. I think that most people really find that it just takes away the overwhelm when they're getting dressed. So yeah, I just felt like it was really important. I just really wanted, like, if you think about Toronto in the winter, it's like the sea of like black parkas and you'd see everyone in their like Nike Air Force. It was like there was almost a uniform and I was so sick of it. I'm like, we need to have more people looking and expressing themselves.
Who they truly are.
Yeah.
So, because it's a piece of your like styling yourself is like a confidence driver.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people, they're too busy looking outside and trying to copy formulas instead of looking within. So yeah, that led me to brush up on my personal styling, and taking that color course and then launching my business. And the funny thing is this group that I had been posting in a lot, they are an incredible community in the East End and they really blew up my business from day one.
Aww.
Yeah. So it's so interesting how like every step I took throughout my career, even when things felt like they were out of alignment, really still all kind of came back and they each kind of play a piece in the puzzle that is this. And I, for the first time in my life, feel like fully aligned. And I think that everything in my business has been coming to me really fast and furious, but I think it's because I'm really in alignment.
Yeah, you're being magnetic.
Yeah.
I think there's some important points here to like slow down in order to speed up, to take the time to actually reflect, self-reflect, and like pause, because we're so obsessed with growing and moving, and we don't take enough time to just like sit back and allow things to come in for us. And for you, another thing that I loved about that is like, you started doing passion things. And I think everything starts with passion. Like posting the clothing styled in the group, that wasn't related to a business. You weren't trying to sell anything other than the shirts that you were selling. But like there was no motive.
It was joy. It was fun for me.
And when you follow those threads of passion, that's ultimately where things lead you.
Yeah.
And I also love that like Inner Muse as the jewelry brand, it wasn't working. And so you let it sit. And like, this has happened to me recently with Stay Here, where I did a full pivot and I was fully like, okay, Stay Here is dead to me right now. I'm not a design studio. I'm not doing anything. And I let it go. And I had an employee and I let her go. And it was like a big moment for me.
Yeah.
And now it's a couple months later. And by completely stepping away, I've now had the time and space to completely create a new vision for Stay Here. And now it's like a whole different approach. And it's because I gave it the time and the space, and I like was confident enough to just let it go. And sometimes it takes letting something go for it to come back to you in a completely new way. And now Inner Muse is your new version of this brand, and it's an evolution of you as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I can see it with what you're doing now. Like it just, you look like you're having so much fun with the content. It seems so free flowing. It's beautiful.
And it's rooted back in passion.
Right.
Because when I started Stay Here, I started it in 2020. It was actually just before 2020. And I started it as a place to document the places that I was going to stay, specifically because I was like, winter sucks. And I need some reasons to be outside. So I'm going to go stay in cabins. I'm going to start snowboarding. I'm going to do all these things. And then it evolved into the studio. And then it just like kept picking up different things. And by the end, I was just doing a million things. I had a million services. And it just burnt me out.
Right.
And so I just shut it down completely. And then recently I finally got a hold of Ryan's hard drives, because Ryan likes to make content, and then put it on a hard drive. And then he ended up moving his studio into our apartment. And I finally had access to look at all of this content. And I was like, I'm posting this. We have so much beautiful content to share. I'm posting this. And it was, again, driven by passion. And now we're like figuring out like, okay, this is like something that we're excited about. We're getting momentum. Like, how do we bring business into this? But that wasn't the first initial reason that we did it. So I think it's so important to just follow your excitement, because what you're excited about the most, that energy is magnetic. And like, that's where things start coming into alignment, and it doesn't have to make sense off the bat.
Agree. I feel like I'll say that while I took that time to pause, that time to pause was like really hard.
It's so hard.
It's brutal.
The most hard, because you want to keep moving, but you have to slow down.
Yeah. Like it sounds like it was like, oh yeah, I just like took a year and just meditated and like whatever. It was like daily just frustration and like overthinking a little bit sometimes, but like telling myself to kind of quiet and meditate and whatever. Guided meditations only. I'm sucky at just sitting still. But yeah, I just want to like emphasize the fact that like it sucked.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It sucked. But it's all worth it.
Yeah. I did a lot of like on the wall, like a horror film where it's like so many Post-it notes and like, a lot of journaling and just reflection. And then, like ultimately, like I just decided to move completely away from Stay Here, and I was okay with that.
Right.
And it just came in a new way. And sometimes it takes that too, to just say, you know what, I'm not doing this business anymore. I'm going to figure out what's next.
Yeah. It's just such an evolution.
So
always.
Cool. Your like posting the photos of you wearing the clothes reminds me of like the Sophia Amoroso. Do you know her story?
Of course.
Yeah. So cool.
Love
so
her.
nasty gal, like on the MySpace. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I love that community, like community in general is so important. And you've created this community from a Facebook, like swap and sell.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. They're an amazing group. And it is truly amazing. And it's all about that alignment, and it feels really good to feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's just something like different about like pursuing joy, and like it feels like clarity. It feels like ease. It feels like fun. Like I love waking up and working and like being excited to get started.
Yeah.
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 So tell me more about personal styling. So if someone comes to you and they're like, I hate everything in my closet. I have nothing to wear.
Right.
I don't know what my style is. Like, what is your process for helping people tap into their own personal style?
Yeah. So, well, one of the main packages that I kind of created that I felt was like gave the best tools is what I call like the style overhaul. And so basically that's like gaining clarity on your best colors. It's,
so
again,
important.
as you said, it's just like such a good place to start. I have people where they're like, "Oh my God, everyone should have their colors done at birth so that they just know."
Literally, I can't say enough good things.
Yeah,
like, I changed my hair.
Yeah,
I was blonde my entire life, and I always was like, I wonder, but I was so scared. And then I feel like you gave me the permission slip.
I love that.
Like when you gave me the document of like, these are your colors, these are all. I went straight to the hair page, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it, and then I did it, and I love it.
Yeah. It's just you're like so bright and full of color.
And I love wearing colors. And I feel like it does make, like I get complimented every time I have this blue shirt from Province. So
Canada,
I wear that. And like every time I'm out wearing it, people stop me. They're like, oh my gosh, your eyes, your hair. And I'm like, thank you, it's color analysis.
Amazing.
So funny. Okay, so it starts with color analysis.
Yeah, so I mean, and not everyone's into it. And that's fine.
Yeah. Again, a tool.
Exactly. It's a tool. And I love the way you communicated that, because some people are like, they're afraid of it because they feel like if they know their colors, then they can't do anything else. And that's not the case at all.
No,
so you've got the perfect balance.
Yeah.
Exactly. So doing that. And then, so I normally suggest a wardrobe edit. So that means like going through somebody's closet and helping them figure out the styles that suit them best. In terms of like cuts, for example, like some people maybe wear things that are with like fabrics that are really rigid when really they should be wearing fabrics that are a little bit softer and smoother, like all these little details that sometimes like it can take an outfit and maybe it's just the tiniest bit off. And if you tweak those little things, it all kind of comes together. So going through their wardrobe, figuring out what works for them, what doesn't. I generally find that like there's certain things that people just do on repeat that are not right. And then certain things that they do that are. So it's like understanding that so that you're able to then go forward and make the better decision. And even when it comes to style, like someone can put on a piece of clothing in their wardrobe that maybe they wore like 20 years ago. And back then it was like totally them and it worked, but now it kind of just like, it's not sitting right. And not in the way that it sits on their body, but literally like it's not their style anymore because we're always evolving. So just like really pinpointing the styles where someone feels really confident and it looks really at home on them, and the styles where it's like maybe they've moved past that, like maybe they're not boho anymore, but they're more classic or whatever the case. So really getting clear on their style and then giving them the tools to understand how to then go forward with shopping. I normally, as part of that particular package, like offer a shopping where I will go and I will take all the information from like what their personal style is like, what their best colors are, and their body type in terms of like what works best for them. And I will go and like pull items for them ahead of time. And then they just come and meet me and they just try on. So I always say like, it's actually it is challenging to find something that like meets all three of those needs. So it's kind of like a needle in a haystack. But when you find it, it's so worth it. So I kind of take all of that and piece it together in that final piece. But really my goal is that like when someone's done working with me, they now have all the tools in terms of knowing what works for them that they can go forward and do it themselves.
So really empowering people to take control of their own style.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which I think is so important because like at the end of the day, if you're working with a stylist, like you want to be able to style yourself after the fact and feel confident making your own decisions.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like you're kind of like the accelerator to help people get their closet to a place that feels more aligned. But then after the fact, they also want to feel confident in who they are, in their style, in shopping for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They know their strategy moving forward and feel like they have a formula, but a formula that's unique to them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too that it's like you're giving them a formula, but it's like you can always break the rules.
100%.
It's just like this is the strategy and these are the colors that you know works for you. But if you want to do a wild card, do a wild card.
Oh yeah. I always pull wild cards when we're shopping too. Like I'll always be like, okay, well this is your style and this is whatever, but I'm going to like push the limit a little bit and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I do find that most people in general, they'll be like, oh, I never would have grabbed these things, but they're exactly what I needed. Whereas like people just tend to continuously like do the same thing. They're always grabbing for the same stuff. And so they kind of need some fresh eyes to just like move them a little bit outside their box.
Do you have like closet staples that you think every closet needs to have?
Well, I mean, of course there's like those basic capsule things, but I don't totally believe in them. I think that there is versions of them for everyone. Like if you think back to like, you know, of course, everyone needs a great fitting pair of jeans. I think like a nice clean sneaker that you could maybe dress up, dress down, a blazer, like a lot of those capsule items. But I think that they need to get more specific, that they're not like the exact one that you see in that guide on Pinterest. Like it's got to be like, for example, I have never owned just like a white t-shirt, just like a plain white t-shirt. I don't have it. First of all, as you know, as a spring, just a white t-shirt isn't the best, but regardless of that, I have a white t-shirt on underneath this, but it has a picture of Brigitte Bardot on it and it's kind of graphic and that feels like me. So it's like we each have things like maybe that button down, but maybe for some people it's a poplin. Some people it's like silk, maybe it's colorful, maybe it's patterned, or maybe it's plain. I had these two sisters that I work with and I love the fact that like they are both totally opposites. And so what works for one would feel ridiculous on the other and vice versa. Like one is very, she wants to shop Queen Street West, something a little bit more funky, while the other one is like very classy and a little bit more conservative and or a little bit more modern, and just like their stuff doesn't overlap, but yet they're so similar. So I think that that's it for people, is that we all each have our own unique individual personality, and what works on me is not going to work on you and vice versa. So tapping into that a little bit.
I love that. And having the like those things that are kind of like your signature that you're always grabbing for, because that like it's an extension of your personality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love bomber jackets. That's one of my favorite
I love a bomber
things.
jacket too.
Yeah. I don't know when I started wearing them, but I love a good bomber jacket. Yeah. And they're like the easiest thing to thrift. They're everywhere. Yeah. And I just bomber jacket collection. Brian's always like, you have too many.
Yeah, I have a jacket thing too. Just like, there's certain things. I do love a signature. I love that when someone can have certain pieces that are just like really recognizable as being them. But I think that everyone's signature should be unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of like, so first and foremost, I feel like style is a lot like interior design, where it's like there are so many styles.
Right.
So do you have like a specific style that your like dream client falls into, or like are you kind of starting from scratch with every client, and like where are you shopping?
Yeah, well, I am starting from scratch with every client, and something about me is like I don't like repetition. I don't like expecting what's going to happen. I kind of purposely just like to be a little bit more on the edge of my seat, like not knowing what I'm going to encounter. So to me, it'd be really boring if I was bringing everyone to shop at the same store. So I literally like have completely different shopping experiences and take people to totally different stores based on their style.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it's similar with interior design. It's like the thing about that is that it's so time consuming and like you don't always find things. So like I'm just thinking about like vintage shopping.
Right.
So like if I'm vintage shopping for a client, I could go to 3 antique malls and find nothing.
Right.
Or I could go and find an entire like house full of stuff. Yeah. So what is that process like of like, especially if you're bringing the client with you, there's kind of some pressure on that.
There is so much pressure. Thank you for like actually acknowledging that. It is so true. There is a lot of pressure. It always works out, but there can be a lot of pressure. And there's certain times a year that are a little bit tougher for shopping too. Like February is kind of crappy. It's true. So because I go a little bit ahead of time, I'm able to avoid letting like the client see the pressure. Yeah. So what they get to see is like the very streamlined process of it, and the couple hours before is like intense stress. Yeah. I'd like it to be not like that, but the reality is like I may have a vision in my head, but I'm now relying on the stores to have that vision. Yeah. And it can be challenging for sure.
I feel like that's so challenging because you're limited to what is actually physically there.
Right.
Like with interior design, like this relates so much to vintage because vintage, it's like you get what you get and it's either there or it's not there. And
Very
you can
true.
go in with an idea and like there might be nothing that's even like that.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, I haven't done much in that type of shopping with clients.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking about vintage furniture, but vintage clothing
No,
would be the
I
same.
know what you mean. Yeah. On occasion, like if there's something that like maybe I had in my head and we don't find in the mall, then I generally will offer like online suggestions. So I'll like fill in any gaps potentially, like worst case scenarios with options online, because then you have kind of endless options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, okay. Now I'm just curious for myself. Like I have like bold style. I like vintage. Like what are some places in Toronto that you would suggest?
Well, I feel like for you, for sure, I see like the vintage stores for sure. But I think even like checking out like consignment stores.
Okay.
I really love consignment stores because they just have so much more color. I think that like basic mall clothes would be way too basic for you.
Okay.
And I feel like you're more like boutiques or consignment or vintage.
Yeah.
Because things get much more colorful. They get much more interesting. Like you could probably find some basics within the mall space, but I think that for you, I would be more like specialty stores to find those more interesting pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love shopping vintage. I love that vintage shops also usually divide by color.
Exactly.
So you literally
That's
can just go right to the color of what you want to, like what your color analysis is.
Yeah, exactly. Same with consignment stores. I shop a lot of consignment stores because it's just such a hodgepodge of stuff, but it's all like color coordinated, or you know what I mean? Like it's all divided by color, and there's just a lot more interesting mix.
So for a closet overhaul, do the clients come to you with like a budget to spend? Is there a minimum threshold? Like what does it cost to like for the actual clothes?
Right. So I literally will just be like, tell me how much you're like wanting to spend. And I'm really realistic with people. And I'm just like, base it on, you know, how much money you feel you have. And so I shop with people in all ranges. Like I have quite a diverse mix of clients, but I always like make it work within their budget. So they'll give me like a general number, and really I'm just using that number and figuring out, well, what do they need? Do they need like almost a whole new wardrobe? Like do they need a large mix of pieces, or do they only need a few? And then that allows me to kind of zone in on like, okay, well, I think maybe these stores will have a good mix. And it's funny how it always ends up kind of like whatever we buy always ends up in that range, even though it's like, you know,
so
you can't control that much of
No.
it, but it always kind of works out. But I'm very much like this is not like a pressure number. This is just like, we all know our personal budgets, and it's like, tell me what that number is, and then we'll work within it. So I know whether maybe we need to go to some, you know, lower price stores, or whether we can want to look for higher quality and go a little bit more expensive. Within reason. It's got to be worth it. And yeah, just finding like the right thing to fit that person.
That is honestly so challenging because it's like you could spend $500 on a pair of jeans,
Totally.
But if your budget is $1,000, obviously you're going to want to have more things than that.
Exactly.
So knowing kind of where to save and where to splurge.
Yeah.
like in terms of like specific items, what do you think are like splurge worthy items? Like items that you're like, this is something that you're going to invest in and have for a long time.
Yeah. Well, so I often think a little bit of like a price per wear kind of thing. So I find that a lot of people will like, they'll splurge on like a dress for an event and then they'll cheap out on jeans.
It's me. I got my color analysis done and I was immediately looking at dresses to wear to a wedding one time.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like I don't have everyday clothes in my colors, but I was like, I'm going to have the best dress in my new colors. It's like so silly.
Yeah, no, you are not alone. A lot of people do that. And I'm just like, let's reverse that and spend on the things that you're wearing so much, because your price per wear is going to be like next to nothing. And you're wearing that so much, you want to feel good in it, right? So those aren't the things that you want to cheap out on. Those are the things that you want to spend more money on. And then the thing you're wearing once, go rent a dress.
Yeah, 100%.
Rent a dress because you're not going to want to wear it again.
Yeah, literally. You'll wear it once and then it will go into your closet to die.
Yeah, you're not going to wear it again.
No.
So I really try to tell people, I'm like, go rent a dress, get something fabulous and send it back. It doesn't have to take up any space in your closet after. And I would suggest more like spending on a beautiful jacket or a great pair of jeans, maybe a pair of sneakers. Even like I have some t-shirts and sweatshirts that I've spent a pretty penny on, but I wear them more than like anything I own. So it's really like the price per wear has been minimal at this point. But sometimes you'd be like, to spend that much on a t-shirt? But
it's
I wear
an amazing
it all
strategy.
the time.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question. I work from home. I want to be comfortable.
Yes.
Where do I shop? Because right now, if Ryan had photos of the things that I wear, like I look like I wear his like old white t-shirt, but like it's like a t-shirt that I eat and I get so I'm disgusting basically is
You're
the moral of the
spiller.
story.
You're a spiller.
And I finally got rid of them. Everyone on my Instagram knows that I had these disgusting Nike slides.
I've seen them.
Yeah. I've been wearing them for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And finally Cedar just like took the last straw. He loves sandals and socks. And so they've been exiled.
Right.
And I have new slippers if you would like.
Oh, yes. I see them.
Sherpa. I know. Fantastic.
Very fun.
But my day-to-day wear, I finally upgraded to a pair of like Aritzia, like casual, they're pajama pants. I wear pajama pants mostly.
Right.
But like, what can I wear that I don't feel like a complete slob in, that's like comfortable and like, basically, I just want to be comfortable at home and not look disgusting.
100%. No, I agree. I feel like, again, it's like a slightly tailored approach in terms of like the actual store. But I do think that like I have a very realistic approach to like someone that's at home. Like they're not going to sit in like the blazer and tailored pants and whatever. First of all, you don't need to. And it's just not realistic. But I really try to like gear people on like creating the look of looking like polished and put together or whatever your look is, but also being comfortable. So looking for fabrics that you're going to feel comfortable sitting in, but just like making that effort to elevate a little bit. So even like a matching set,
it's a good
start. like a sweatsuit set, but maybe one that has like a killer cut that like just looks amazing on your body, but also is ridiculously comfortable. So just getting like really intentional with things that you buy to be comfy, but yet feel polished.
Okay, I love matching sets. I feel like I need an option that's like a t-shirt and sweatpants because like sometimes wearing a sweater is too hot.
Right.
But I think I love that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send you some suggestions.
Yeah, send me some suggestions. I want all of the suggestions.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that work from home. That are listening. Do you have any like stores that typically sell like casual wear that could work?
Casual wear? Well, I mean, I do have some brands that have like pants that are like a dress pant but feel kind of casual at the same time. There's a company I work with, Vespertine, who does a beautiful like wide leg pant. I actually was gonna wear it today and then I went with the jeans, but it like feels like a sweatpant, but it looks really polished. So it's like that really perfect mix. And she actually tailors things to people.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like very like custom fits. there's even like Spanx, for example. They have some really great sets right now with like a little half zip and wide leg jogging pant. Ooh. And they're like in this butter material. Really cute.
I saw Skims has matching sets, but I've never tried them. I have
their t-shirt is like one of my favorite t-shirts of all time. Yeah. I'm like, I don't love Kim, but so I was like, didn't want to talk about it too much, but her t-shirt is legit like the best.
You know what? I've seen on TikTok that there's like Amazon dupes that are literally the exact same, like you like pull the tags and it's the same. They're from the same factory.
Fair.
And they're like half the price.
Like, I haven't tried that one. I will say that I know there's like that Spanx set I was just telling you about. There's like these Amazon dupes of that. They're horrid and they're nothing
Sometimes
close.
It's not
they're
even worth
nothing
it.
close. Yeah. Like they're just garbage. But I know that there is like Skims dupes. I don't know how similar they are.
Yeah, I would love to like test it.
Yeah.
If they're literally from the same place, then
yeah, fair. I know. I haven't. I did go down that rabbit hole at one point, and then I didn't end up pursuing it. But I did try it with the Spanx one, and I was like, wow, this is terrible.
You need to do a review. Let the people know. Let the people know.
Well, there's so much content. Like when you go and search online, I will sometimes use TikTok as like a search engine. So let's say I'm like looking up something for a client. I'll look up that item and see people like trying it on. So of course, then it like loops you into all these Amazon dupe versions. And everyone's like, oh, it's wonderful. It's the best. Yeah, it's just as good. Because then they're going to get a commission on it.
Yeah. I honestly, TikTok is a search engine.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm trying to figure out what to wear, I will type it in and be like blue cardigan outfit. Yeah. And like see how other people style it.
Totally.
It's such a good tool.
Yeah. Pinterest, same thing. Yeah. No, I think that's really great. Sometimes if you have something in your closet and you're like, I love this item, but I don't know what to do with it. I'll be like type it into Pinterest or TikTok and get some like inspiration, then try to put some things together.
Something that I started doing, I can't remember the name of it. There's an app, I think it's Everlist, maybe.
Okay.
I'll find out what it is and I'll put it in the show notes. But it's an app where you photograph your wardrobe and you can make outfits and go back to them.
Yeah.
And I started using it, but then I had other pieces to photograph and I forgot about it.
Was it Index?
Index. Yes. Okay. So what do you think about Index?
I think it's great. I think you just have to follow through and and do the work. Yeah. I think when it comes to like fashion, your wardrobe, it takes putting in the effort and the time. And I think a lot of people think that style just should come really effortless. And if it doesn't come effortlessly to you, then it's just not your thing. When really it's like, it actually does take some work. And if you put in the work, then you're going to have better results and it's going to come a little bit easier to you. So you can go through and take photographs of what's in your wardrobe and put together these little outfits so that you can just easily like look and be like, okay, this is my Wednesday outfit, or this is what I'm going to wear for a special event. Normally, like after I've worked with someone going through their wardrobe, what's left in their wardrobe is all things that like fit them really well, look really good. So now they tend to find that like getting dressed becomes much easier because they don't have a million things anymore. They don't have those things that, first of all, don't fit or aren't their style, like the things that they weren't grabbing for, but were really like cluttering up space. And now they'll find that like things tend to kind of mix and match much easier. But yeah, if you can go the extra mile and photograph and put outfits together, then like that's ideal.
Yeah, I think I just need to spend more time with it. And it was something that I'd started and then I was like excited about and then I forgot about.
Yeah.
Common thing.
Yeah.
But it is a very cool tool.
Yeah.
And like you said about style, like if you don't feel like it's effortless, then you're not good at it.
Right.
That's the same with literally anything like interior design, branding, marketing. So like you have to give things your time, attention, and effort. And Index is cool because you can create your outfits and you can repeat them. Like if you're making like weekday outfits, you're doing it and then you get better by putting structures in first. So like at first you might have all of these outfits in Index that you like spent a lot of time curating, putting together, maybe you sourced inspiration, but then at a certain point you start to get better at just understanding like what looks and feels good.
Right.
And I think that's the same for so many things. Like you have to put in the work to create a strategy and a guideline and follow it until you've got a baseline, and then you can kind of veer off and do your own thing.
Yeah.
But if you're learning anything new, you need to start with like the foundation.
Totally. I even find like a lot of people now are having to go back into the office, and so the first thing I'll do is just like, well, how many days are you going into the office? So let's say they're 2 times a week or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, that's 8 times in a month. So like, can we think of like, you can probably do some mix and matching, but at most you need 8 outfits. You're going to be able to use, maybe 2 pairs of pants in a bunch of different ways with some different combinations. Like sometimes it's like literally mathing it out and being like, you said you don't need a million outfits, you can repeat. So like creating just a few outfit boards and then recycling them a little bit. It also allows you to figure out what you're missing in your wardrobe too. So if you find that like you never have quite the right piece to pull this outfit together, then it's like now you have a shopping list and you can shop more intentionally. I really believe very strongly in being very intentional when you're shopping and like finding that piece as opposed to just very like spontaneous shops where it's just like, oh great,
Which
I came
is how
home with
most
a
of us
haul.
shop all the time.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's an event, I need to buy something, and then you buy it, and it's like it doesn't last in your wardrobe because you're just buying in the wrong energy.
Totally.
Panic, frantic.
Totally.
Like you want to be in this calm, collected, like I have an intentional list.
Yeah.
So actually, it's funny that we're chatting because Ryan and I have started reading a book. We're doing it together. It's called Wear It Well.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just did the first part of the book, which was the closet, like declutter, and like so much clarity. There are so many things that are sitting in your closet that you're not wearing, and it's doing you a disservice because it's just taking up space and mental capacity. And so with less, and this is like a common theme that I'm finding in business and everything, like do less.
Yes.
Have less things.
Yes.
Like then you can see what you have and be more intentional and have more clarity.
Yeah.
And now we're like discovering what the holes are, what the gaps are in our wardrobe, and discovering our style and figuring out like how to actually shop, and like being equipped with that information makes it so that you don't make those impulsive decisions that have you buying a dress for $500 that you're going to wear once and then have in your closet until you donate it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I also think in general, as a woman though, like we evolve so much. So it's a little harder on us. Like between women having like fluctuations in weight, sometimes more than men, and just like going through these different life phases, like doing a wardrobe edit is like a really good thing to do. I will try to do mine twice a year. And like that way you're always staying on top of it. And for me, when I'm doing it twice a year, it's not like there's not much major things shifting. Whereas sometimes I'll do someone's closet who really hasn't edited in a long time. And sometimes they feel really bad about like releasing all of these things. I think, oh, I've spent money on it, whatever. But I'm like, these are stores that haven't been around for 20 years. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to let go. I just wanted to throw that out there that like, just as women, we're evolving a lot, and it's okay to kind of evolve out of these past versions of ourselves and like just constantly be trying to dress to the best versions of ourselves today.
The sunk cost bias is real though, because it's like if you've invested whatever, a couple $100s into a blazer, you feel really bad getting rid of it because you're like, whoa, what if? And I spent this, and it's like if you're not wearing it, what is it doing for you?
Right.
Other than just like having mental capacity in your closet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, hey, that's when sometimes like groups selling stuff in groups, like for the longest time, I wasn't working much during that little period in between things. So for me, it was like, if I wanted to buy something new, let me release something and use that money to buy something new. Like I had to get a little bit thrifty. Who knew that it was also going to help my business? But yeah, I mean, there's always things like that. Or I just remind people that someone else is going to love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 What are your thoughts on dressing for the version of you today? Because I think, like you said, as women, like our bodies go through a lot of fluctuations and changes. And sometimes we can get stuck with a pair of pants from college that were like one day.
Yeah.
And it's like, but is that like energetically taxing? Like what is the difference like between dressing for the body that you actually have right now?
Yeah. Well, it's super important. And it's like, it's so major. I hear it all the time. You need to be comfortable. Like if you are, maybe you're on a weight loss journey, whatever, you still need pants to wear now. So at the very least, go out and get yourself a pair of pants in that size bigger or whatever. And I constantly will have women who've like held on to that pair and maybe they've lost a bunch of weight and they're like, it fits now, but it's like super low rise. Like the fly is like this big and it's really like not the look anymore. Not only is it like not in style, but it actually doesn't look great on their body, even if they're back down to that size. So it's like they've held on to this like goal pant for so long only to realize that like they don't actually like it. So when I am working with women, I do know that like we fluctuate, we all have our own journeys. I like to look at like how realistic is this? Is this a size that you are likely to get to again? And if you did, would you be able to maintain it? Or is it like maybe just like it's a 5-pound difference? And in that case, like we might not want to get rid of it because sometimes that can all change within a month kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do like to remove anything that really doesn't like by quite a bit fit, whether it means like just giving it away or just hiding it away.
And like, what is the meaning behind holding on to those pants, right? It's like, are you not allowing yourself to be valuable the way that you are today and feel empowered? You have to be able to fit into this pair of pants. Like that, I don't think that's a great thing to be holding on to and like embodying the version of you that you are today and feeling empowered in that version and allowing the old pants to maybe be released.
100%. Yeah. You got to feel confident as you are. So even if you're not feeling your best in your body, you're going to feel a lot better in your body if you're wearing stuff that fits than if you're wearing things that are like, you're trying to squeeze yourself into it. That's really just going to like perpetuate these really bad feelings.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take you to a good place. So yeah.
It kind of reminds me during the 75 Slow Challenge. I don't know if you remember this message, but one of the gals was talking about how she bought a house coat, but she wasn't letting herself wear it until she got to the new house.
Okay.
And like sometimes we have these like limitations or these rules that we put on ourselves that we're not allowed to enjoy or embody things right now. It's not until we hit like a threshold.
Right.
And I thought that was like such an interesting thing for her. She started wearing the house coat and I was like, hell yeah, girl, wear that house coat. Like we shouldn't be putting these like limitations on how we can show up today, that we have to be a certain way. It's like we can be how we are right now and wear the things that make us feel incredible and not have to save the house coat for the new house.
100%. Yeah. Everyone deserves to feel like their best selves today.
So the power of color. So again, I've been screaming from the rooftops. I feel like everyone on my Instagram knows how obsessed, like that was like one of the biggest, I was like one of the girls that was on TikTok. My camera roll is every filter. Like I kid you not, it's like scroll. And it's just my little face with all the colors around it. And I was I was trying to figure it out on my own for so long.
Yeah.
And I was completely off. We started doing the color analysis and I was like, oh, I forget what I thought I was.
I think you thought you were
a summer.
You're like a muted, a soft summer.
A soft summer.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I'm a soft summer. And Samantha's doing my color. She's like, yeah, okay. And she's like moving the thing. She's like, and I was like, am I right? You're like, It was so funny. And so anyway, I'm a true spring.
Yeah.
You're also a true spring.
I am, yeah.
So we have very bright colors, color palettes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first picked up that book as a kid, I was like I had like that platinum white kind of hair, but these really dark brown eyes, which is a little bit unusual. So of course I was like always trying to place myself as to like where I fit. And I can still remember like the picture of the spring girl who was like, I was like, I think I'm like her. So I knew my colors even back then, but then when I went and pursued like working in the cosmetic industry and everything, we wore a lot of black. Black was the uniform. And I feel like I kind of took on like black as my personality. So as an adult, like that was what I wore. I wore black, white, leopard, like that was me.
Still rocking the leopard.
Still rocking the leopard with a lot of color now. So when I went and pursued like doing the color analysis, I was also getting a little confused because I hadn't seen my natural hair color in a long time. And I was like, I feel like it's kind of ashy. Like maybe I'm a summer. but no, I'm a spring. And seeing the palette, I was like, wow, I don't have any of this. It really took a moment, but I do think that it's like a really joyful palette, and I think that it connects with me as being a joyful person. And I think for you too, like you can tell that like you're way too spirited to be anything other than a spring. Like, yeah. You have spring personality all over you.
Thank you. One thing that I love that you told me when you did my analysis was that like it's a journey, and you're not going to just throw your whole wardrobe out. You're going to start picking things, and maybe you're not shopping for black anymore.
Right.
One of the things that I loved the most about color analysis was changing my makeup.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was wearing a lipstick that I just looked like a dead person. It's like, how about a little bit of color?
Yeah.
And like making those like simple shifts to a different blush and a different lipstick. It's just like, new face.
Yeah.
New face, who this?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I remember when you posted that, and I was like, I love it. Yeah.
And I've been wearing that lipstick since like the dawn of time. Right. Since I started wearing lipstick.
That was your signature.
That was my signature. Yeah. And it was just a little bit off.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I've like embodied, and I just love shopping for makeup. I feel like it's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like I'm kind of obsessed with watching everyone's transformations. Like it truly is like, I still get blown away every time. Even as I'm doing the colors and I see certain colors on people, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good.
Becky changed her hair the other day. Incredible.
That was like a tough one, because I felt like I was like breaking her heart a little bit to say that she wasn't an autumn.
She wears the autumn all the time. Yeah,
that was her signature.
I know. And then I love when she was like, should I color my hair? And I was like, yes. I'm like so on the hair train. Like everybody try it. And it looks
like
amazing.
Completely like
incredible.
Totally. Yeah. There was no doubt.
Shout out Becky. You look amazing. We love the hair.
Yeah. So like I always ask all my clients, I'm like, please keep me updated. Please send me pictures. I'm like, I literally live for this. Like I want to see the transformations.
Yeah.
Because they can be pretty massive.
Totally massive.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, what are the like things that you're looking at in order to determine someone's color palette?
So really like the main thing is that like we need to mimic what's happening up here with what's happening down here. Now, some people embrace their natural coloring to a certain extent, while other people are like, they kind of style themselves for a certain look. So like, for example, Becky was really styling herself towards that autumn thing. So sometimes for people like that, it can be a little bit like tougher news to hear that really like their palette feels a little different. Even like for myself, I was wearing the black and whites, and it turned out, well, I'm light and warm and bright. But I'm looking for your natural coloring as a base point to understand like, you know, are you dark? Are you light? Are you warm? Are you cool?
And this is your skin tone.
Or bright. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's all these things. So the number one thing is always skin. And then eyes and hair are kind of like complement onto it. Now it doesn't mean you have to rock your natural hair color, as you know. It's just like a starting point to understand like your overall coloring. And so of course it started out for color analysis was like these 4 main palettes. And so each one has a very different feel, whether you're cool and dark or cool and soft. Yeah, I'm like, how do I explain this in a very simple way? Yeah, there's the 4 seasons, but really it's like most importantly is mimicking here with here. When you connect those two, it's like magic. But a lot of people when they're shopping, they're not paying attention to those things. Like when you go shopping, you're just
looking at your body.
You're looking at your body. You're overwhelmed. You're looking at all the things, and you're just grabbing for colors that likely feel safe. Like a lot of springs can get quite shocked when they find out they're springs because they're quite daring colors, and unless you know that those look good on you, you might not go that route.
Yeah, like emerald green, I would have never looked at. And I put it on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's just like if someone is really dark and bright, well, then like really warm colors are not going to connect with them. Or like really like light pastel colors aren't really going to connect with them because they're almost going to look like they have like a floating head. Like there's not enough color to support them. And vice versa, when someone's really light and they're wearing really, really dark, deep colors, well, then you kind of get like dragged down and the color just really overpowers you and kind of like takes away your it like zaps you of your energy. So we're really looking for the colors that like completely bring you to life, that they like put a sparkle in the eye. They make your complexion look clear. They can even like change your hair color in a way like where it looks a little bit more rich, a little bit more shiny. It just adds to you, as opposed to like, there's a bunch of colors we can all wear that are just like, okay, but we're not looking for those. We don't care about those. We want to know the colors that are like literally going to stop you in the street going, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the dazzling colors. Like
Yeah.
it like literally brings you to life. And what I thought was the craziest was the change in complexion. Because it's like
For
some
sure.
clothes that you wear give you a literal shadow under your
Yes.
chin, and other ones brighten it up and make you look like snatched. I
Yes.
was like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
Just from wearing a color.
Totally. I know. That's why I'm like, I geek out on this somehow. After doing all the colors that I do, I still am like blown away by someone that like, I had one client whose chin would like double in size in some colors and then was like back to normal and like very lifted in others. Or just, you know, if you put me in summer colors, I look exhausted. Like I just look tired and shadowed. And then you put me in spring and I look brighter and more
come alive.
energized. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. So where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me at www.shopinnermuse.com or on Instagram at shop_innermuse.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I mean, listening, listening and watching.
Yes.
So we're actually going to do a little color analysis on Ryan. We have an idea of what Ryan is, and it's actually hilarious because I believe, we're going to find out. I believe that Ryan is an autumn. Of course he is. So yeah, we're going to do a little swatch and see.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Well, we just did a little color analysis on Ryan off camera, but I'm going to show you some comparisons on the impact of undertone. So first off, generally when I'm working with a client, I'm looking at how warm colors look on someone versus cool colors. So here we are going to put some cool colors on Ryan. And then let's see. So what I'm looking for is the skin to look bright and energized and look more even. Now, when we put this on, what I notice is that Ryan gets much brighter. It brings in a nice warm glow into his skin that kind of lights him up, makes his eyes appear brighter. So this means that he leans warm. And so just having a look here between this one and this one, the warm just brings a little extra glow. So based on that, that leaves us two palettes to compare. So spring, which is our girl Autumn's palette. And clearly we can see that this is a little bright and just doesn't really connect with Ryan's coloring. Now over here, when we bring this up, this is a much better connection. Not only does his skin look nice and warm and healthy, but it also just like makes Ryan the focus. Whereas over here in the spring colors, the focus kind of goes down here because it lacks that harmony.
Do you know what I love? That cedar matches the palette.
Right. Absolutely. Totally intentional, I'm sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
So we are finding that true autumn, he found his autumn there and the autumn in the palette. Yeah.
So great. Ryan,
Yeah.
you're an incredible model. Just a straight-faced model.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Business.
All right. And the happy part is that we already love the autumn palette and we're already rocking it. So
Yes.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you.
Good.
So good. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Seasons, and thank you for joining us on this colorful journey with Samantha from Inner Muse. If you're ready to stop abusing the color analysis TikTok filters and figure out your color season once and for all, I highly recommend booking Samantha for a color analysis session. Figure out which colors give you a double chin and which ones turn you into a literal goddess in under an hour. Life-changing. Use the code AUTUMN10 to save 10%. Thanks for listening.